This is October 21st, 2024 at Delray Beach Nooners Treasure in the Traditions Workshop, Tradition 10 with Miss Cheryl C. Miss Cheryl, please.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl, blessed and highly favored alcoholic. Carol, thank you for your service. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to start out with reading the long form of Tradition 10. No AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever. So I was taught that if the traditions are organized with the first tradition being our problem, traditions 2 through 11 are specific issues of how to address that problem or specific nuances of the problem. And tradition 12 is the payoff or the principle, what we gain from following those traditions. What is the vision for us? So the problem is our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. And tradition 10 addresses the impact on AA unity of outside issues, opinions on outside issues, controversial issues, and the like. What is the specific sacrifice of each tradition requires us to sacrifice something. Actually, every step. We sacrifice something in every step. We sacrifice something in every tradition. We sacrifice because it's for the wholeness of the group. It's of the wholeness of the body. So the sacrifice is for the wholeness of the individual. The sacrifices in the steps are for the wholeness of the individual in connection with the power and the connection to their power greater than themselves. The sacrifice in the traditions starts out with the wholeness of an individual group, moves to the wholeness of the groups in an area, moves to the wholeness of the groups at AA as a whole. We don't sacrifice our opinion. We sacrifice how and where we air those opinions, because the key, step 10, Bill told us that love and tolerance is our code. And he also told us that love and service is our purpose. Our singleness of purpose, if we read our preamble, it talks about it. It's very clear. AA is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. That's the key. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. AA is a spiritual entity. The groups have a spiritual message. The spiritual message is our primary purpose, is to carry that message. The message is, this is the way to a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Our groups we share our experience, strength, and hope of how we did it, how we stayed sober, how we were able to come up and out. I believe that was one of the early names of our book, or thoughts of the names of our book. So what's an outside issue? Well, I read somewhere, and I like the way this was put. Issues outside of whatever, an outside issue is anything outside of my relationship with a power greater than myself, or anything outside of my sobriety. So that encompasses quite a bit when you really think about it. We can we'll get into some real specifics as we go on here, but as I was talking to Alex before the meeting, and we were talking about all the different things that we don't think about sometimes that might be outside issues. And one of them that he brought up was that we talk about Zoom babies. Well, Zoom is a for-profit entity, so we're online babies, but we're not Zoom babies. We're not connected to profitable enterprises. It's not our jobs or our intent to promote anything. And that's a different tradition, but the reality is it's sometimes difficult to come up with all of the different ways in which we may come afoul of the tradition. But the key is, what is the essence of the spirit of the tradition? The spirit of this tradition is, I need to create and keep a safe space where I can stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. And anything that may deter anyone from getting to that purpose, either myself or someone else, runs afoul of this tradition. So I get to have my own opinions. I get to have controversial opinions, but I don't get to air them in an AA group. And I don't get to air them anywhere where we are gathered for the purpose of AA. So what does that mean? On the line meetings, that means the parking lot, before and after the meeting. In-person meetings, that means in the parking lot, at the coffee pot, anywhere that, give you a very real example, anywhere that a newcomer just might walk by and hear that my opinion on some politics or some controversial issue might make it difficult for them to ask me for help. Might make it difficult for me to put my hand out to them for help because of something that I heard them say. I need to keep my focus on my primary purpose. Because when I go to an AA meeting, when I show up somewhere for AA, I'm there to share my experience, strength, and hope with sobriety, to be there anywhere. I want the hand of AA to always be there. For that, I am responsible. So it gets into some very real specific things. And I'm going to read some things I'm going to read something out of the 12 and 12. I'm going to read a little bit out of Language of the Heart, just for the feel of this tradition, the essence, the soul of it, so to speak. I'm not good at following my own directions, but anyway. In tradition 10, in the 12 and 12, I love this, where in the first paragraph, it says, practically never have I heard a heated religious, political, or reform argument among AA members. So long as we don't argue these matters privately, it's a cinch we never shall publicly. As by some deep instinct, we AAs have known from the very beginning that we must never, no matter what the provocation, publicly exercise in any fight, even a worthy one. It's interesting to me that it says it's so long as we don't argue these matters privately. Now, I haven't seen anything on AA.org or any pamphlet that talks about the parking lot or talks about before the meeting, after the meeting. But to me, what this says, when it says if we don't argue these matters privately, we may consider that privately. But if I don't argue privately, then I'm probably not going to get heated, and then I'm probably not going to say something that could impact someone who happens to be standing around and affected by what I have to say. Now, I've seen all kinds of things. One of the things we've talked about, online meetings, for example, people's screensaver when they take their video off. Sometimes their screensavers are religious oriented, politically oriented, have, some kind of opinion of theirs about one thing or another. It's probably that is contrary to tradition 10. It's interesting. I didn't know that there was an option with online, at least with Zoom. There is an option where you can actually make it so that anyone's screensaver only shows their name. You might want to take that back to our groups to think about. Something that we might want to do. So I want to read a little bit out of Language of the Heart, because I love the Language of the Heart. I love the way it reads, and there's so much in here that I can't read it all, but I want to read specifically in Language of the Heart under Tradition 10, which was, by the way, in September 1948. It said, hence we take for granted our continued unity as a movement. But should we? Though God has bestowed upon us great favors, and though we are bound by stronger ties of love and necessity than most societies, is it prudent to suppose that automatically these great gifts and attributes shall be ours forever? If we are worthy, we shall probably continue to enjoy them. So the real question is, how shall we always be worthy of our present blessings? And I believe that worthiness starts obviously with the individual. It starts with each one of us being responsible for the spiritual essence of AA, the unity of AA. Each of us holding it sacred. Each of us understanding and remembering how it saved our life. Remembering what it felt like when we first walked in this door. When there was some place that we could find the fellowship that we craved. Each of us holding ourselves responsible for maintaining, for protecting. The last paragraph of this reading is, as though by some deep and compelling instinct, we have thus far avoided serious controversies, save minor and healthy growing pains. We are at peace among ourselves. And because we have thus far adhered to our sole aim, the whole world regards us favorably. May God grant us the wisdom and fortitude ever to sustain an unbreakable unity. And we all know it. I'm sure in all of the traditions that were talked about before this one, we all know that this was not true for a very real period of time in Alcoholics Anonymous. The traditions came about through trial and error. They did everything they could think of wrong. And they broke all the rules, and it was chaos. And little by little, it came together from the letters that went to General Service, from Bill going around the country and talking to people about all the problems that they were, and trying to determine. Even Bill often did things that were contrary to the unity of AA. But we learned by trial and error. And just like I believe that God led Bill to write the big book, I believe that God led Bill and a few people that I'm sure helped him to write these traditions. I'm going to read, I now want to really move to, I want to read the tradition. Let me just say, again, the traditions are how we as groups, as a group, groups in any area, and groups as a whole, and AA as a whole, can practice our love and service as our purpose. The steps transform the individual as a process so that we can organically practice love and service. Traditions guide the individual groups, and the groups as a whole for actions of love and service. So we can take these traditions, and while they're written for Alcoholics Anonymous, they actually are functional and can inform our behavior in any group where we wish to maintain unity. For example, traditions practiced in our families will create greater unity. Traditions practiced in our communities, greater unity. Traditions practiced in our workplace, greater unity. The traditions helped me beyond the transformation that the steps did for me individually. Traditions helped me learn how to live with other people. And these traditions helped me to learn how to live with other people, how to be respectful of other people, how to put other people first, not in the sense of instead of myself, but to be other-centered as to how can I be of help in any situation, in any circumstance. It says in our big book, our purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum purpose to God and to the people around us. If I'm going to be of maximum service to God and the people around us, I'm human. I need some guidelines. I need a sponsor. I need the traditions. I need the steps. I need your experience, your hope, and your strength. I'm going to read some questions out of the traditions checklist because they're interesting to me, because they ask you some things that you might not think about with these traditions. Do I ever give the impression that there is an AA opinion on doctors, psychiatrists, churches, hospitals, jails, alcohol, prescribed medications, other drugs, other 12-step programs, vitamins, Al-Anon, the federal or state government? How often have we heard that debate on, are you sober if you're taking medication? It's an outside issue. We're not doctors. Outside issue. Can I honestly share my own personal experience concerning any of those without giving the impression that I'm stating the AA opinion? It's interesting. I looked up the word opinion. Here's what Webster said. I love this. An opinion is a belief stronger than an impression and less strong than positive knowledge. A judgment. Okay, well, we all know. Once I start judging, I'm not being very spiritual, am I? It is spiritual for me to take my own inventory. It is not spiritual for me to take yours. I am always amazed. I am always overwhelmed and amazed when I do anything like this at how incredible the basis of what we operate on is. How incredible our big book is. How incredible our steps are. How incredible our traditions are. How in any given walk of life or way that I may approach living, if I'm introspective enough, humble enough to be taught, I can be taught what to do. What in AA history gave rise to our 10th tradition? What would AA be without the tradition? Where would I be? What gave rise to the 10th tradition? Well, like I said, it was a lot of trial and error, but the Washingtonians really brought it to they got outside of themselves. They got into slavery. They got into all kinds of stuff, and that broke them up. I'm in Swansboro, North Carolina. When I got here, it was in the height of the pandemic. And my sponsor said, start going to some online meetings so that when the doors open again, you can go somewhere and you will have some idea of where to go. Well, I delayed that as long as I could. The doors were open for quite a while before I was willing to do that. Because I was afraid that these were not going to be people that thought like me, that had the opinions I had. Well, what I found was I walked in the door and it was an AA meeting. And I was treated like I was in an AA meeting. And they assumed I was there because I didn't want to drink. And I was welcomed because I didn't want to drink. And we don't talk about, and we know, many of us in those rooms, we know we're probably got some very diametrically opposed views on a lot of different things. We don't talk about them in the parking lot. We don't talk about them where they're smoking at the tables outside of the meeting. We don't talk about them in the meeting. We talk about gratitude. We talk about the 12 step. We talk about staying sober. We talk about our primary purpose. And then we go home and deal with whatever we deal with. I have some family members that having used this tradition with those family members has made me able to at least have Thanksgiving dinner with them. Can't stay very long, but I can have Thanksgiving dinner with them. Because I go in with the concept of, I'm going to keep the peace. We're there to be a family. I'm going to keep the peace. That means I'm not going to get into any discussions about controversial issues. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to cease fighting. That's what it says in step 10, doesn't it? As a group, as a people, as a fellowship, we cease fighting. How can I manifest the spirit of this tradition in my personal life? Outside of AA, inside of AA. Should the meeting secretary intervene to remind AA members about this tradition if a member starts criticizing one political party compared to others or favoring a religion over others? Well, when traditions are broken, we do have a responsibility to say something. But overriding every responsibility is the unity of AA, which means I could disagree, but I don't have to be disagreeable and disagreeing. I need to always keep love and tolerance right in front of my face. I need to always treat another person, another member of Alcoholics Anonymous, as a brother or a sister. Who are faced with the same deadly disease that I am. There but for the grace of God go I. Sometimes I have to treat them like a newcomer. And be really, really tough. I can't change other people. I can barely change myself, but I can work on myself. And I can keep in front of my face love and tolerance, love and service. My primary purpose. That's it for me. That's what I've got for you guys.